Hey there, it's Clay with modernlove.life, and in this video we're going to be discussing 5 signs your ex doesn't love you anymore and that it's time for you to walk away. Many times people want to know if the situation is hopeless or not. I mean, I don't think anyone wants to be here trying to get back together with their ex when their ex has like no feelings for them, is over them, wants to move on. I have been told, I don't know if this is true, but I've been told there's a saying in Thailand that sort of describes this kind of fear that a lot of people have, and that is, a dog barking at an airplane. Nobody wants to be the dog barking at an airplane, trying to catch it, trying to do whatever a dog would do if they actually caught an airplane. I don't know. But when the airplane is just like way out there, far away, there's zero chance of the dog actually catching the airplane. What are these ways that you can tell that there's nothing going on here, that there's no future between the two of you? First of all, I just want to let you know that I don't like these black and white sort of things, because many times there are certain dynamics that are at play that cause someone's ex to behave in a certain way. And if we change the dynamic, then we're going to change the outcome that we get. It's not necessarily like, okay, if I'm seeing these things, it's hopeless. But if you're seeing some of these things, it could be indicative that something needs to change. I like to see things as like, okay, do you have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset? Most of the people that I enjoy working with have a growth mindset. They believe that they can influence things. They believe that they can grow, and they believe that they can have an effect on the world around them. People that have a fixed mindset believe, okay, either it's this way or it's that way. Either there's a possibility that this can work out or it's impossible. Either they love me or they don't love me, and there's zero room for actually changing these things. Okay, so anyway, just want to put that out there. I am a growth mindset kind of person. I hope that you are as well too. If you are a growth mindset minded person, then we could probably work together, but it would be more difficult if you were a fixed mindset sort of person. Anyway, that's a tangent. Let's go ahead and get into the 5 signs your ex doesn't love you anymore. The first one is that there is zero investment in you. Direct investment or indirect investment. So investment in you, this is like, okay, are they interested in your place in the world? Are they interested in things that you're doing in your life? Are they interested in how you're feeling? Are they engaging with you? Are they curious about your opinion about things? Are they following up about that presentation that you had at work, or that important deadline that was coming up, or the thing that you were telling them about? Are they following up about these sorts of things? If so, then they are invested in you. They're curious about you. They're curious about what you're feeling, what you're thinking, how your life is going, and all of that sort of stuff. They could be indirectly investing in you as well too, by maybe just supporting you in some way, sending you some sort of like silly meme or something like that to just sort of like put a little bit of positivity into your day-to-day life. Those are some indirect ways of investing as well too. But if you're not seeing any kind of investment in you as an individual, then admittedly there's not an emotional connection at play here. Maybe you are invested in them, maybe you are talking to them about what's going on in their life, but if it's just a one-way street and it doesn't go the other way, then it shows that they are not interested in your state of being, in your life, in your opinions, in your feelings, and all of that stuff. Now, sometimes people can create a little bit of distance because they don't want to allow themselves to feel a sense of connection with someone else, because they don't feel ready. They don't feel like they're prepared to open themselves up to actually feeling for you. That's an entirely different story. But if there just is a lack of investment in you, then that is a sign that, okay, there could be a lack of love here. Of course, like I said before, they could be holding that back because of not feeling ready to allow themselves to give themselves permission to actually care about you, because they don't know where those feelings are going to take them. They might cause them to go into some uncomfortable places, or maybe make some decisions that they don't feel ready for right now. So it's not like a hard and fast thing, once again, like I said before, but if there is zero investment, then that is a sign that they may not love you anymore. Number 2 is that there's no emotional connection. It's maybe just like a physical connection or something like that. Again, What we want in a great relationship is to actually have people in our lives that actually care about us, that actually want to know who we are, what we're about, where we are emotionally, all that sort of stuff. And if they connect with us on an emotional level, then that's going to demonstrate that, like, okay, we are bonding in some sort of way. We are connecting in some sort of way. If the two of you are just connecting purely in a physical sense, that says, okay, probably the emotional connection is lacking. And maybe there's like a friends with benefits sort of thing unfolding here. And I know that many people do go for the physical side of things because they're terrified of being put in the friend zone. They're terrified of, just being that platonic friend who sits around with their ex while their ex is gushing about some new person that they're dating or something like that. And this is largely something that you don't need to be concerned about. First of all, your ex is probably going to have some degree of, as we call it, tact, to not actually talk about their new relationship or their dating life with you. If they lacked this tact, then it's totally fine to just say, hey, I'm glad you're excited about this, but I feel a little bit uncomfortable talking about your dating life, given our history. Or like, just seriously, put up a boundary. But beyond that, you don't need to worry about pushing the physical connection between the two of you. Yeah, if it makes sense, flirt. Yeah, if you feel comfortable with it, do something beyond, just talking about your feelings and all that stuff. And, take it to the physical level if you feel comfortable with it and if the moment's right. But don't think that you need to force it to happen so that you avoid the friend zone. You and your ex, if you were attracted to one another, if you were in a legitimate romantic relationship, you are probably still going to be in a legitimate romantic relationship. Or at least a legitimate romantic connection between the two of you, okay? You can't just turn this stuff off and on. As long as the two of you are attracted to one another, it's going to likely stay that way, barring some sort of very dramatic, sharp change in your physical appearance or your personality or something like that for the worse, okay? And, I know many of us can be really critical of ourselves. It's like, oh my goodness, I gained 5 pounds or something. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like, okay, I gained like 50 pounds or 100 pounds, or I lost 50 pounds, or I lost 100 pounds, or, I had some sort of like really traumatic thing happen to me and now suddenly I'm a nervous wreck all the time, or something like that, right? These are the kinds of things that potentially could cause someone to lose attraction. And just for the record, in the 12 years or so that I've been doing this, I've yet to actually have a client whose ex has legitimately lost attraction for them. This isn't really something you genuinely need to be concerned about unless, something truly extreme has happened like that. So what we often tell people to do is to really nurture that emotional side. Sure, pay attention to the physical side if you feel comfortable doing that and if the moment is right and all of that, but don't think that you need to rush for the physical thing to prevent the friend zone. Don't think that you really need to worry about the friend zone at all. Don't think that you can use the physical connection that you have as like a back door to a commitment or a connection or something like that, but actually nurture the emotional side of things, because that is really what is going to be most important through all of this, is the emotional connection. You may have heard me in other videos talk about this, but the emotional connection is the most important thing that you can be focusing on through all of this. If you've never heard me say that before, you're probably new here, in which case, welcome, hi, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can get more tips and all that stuff as we move forward. But yeah, the emotional connection is the most important thing that you should be focusing on, more so than the friend zone thing, more so than rebound relationships, more so than text messages, more so than emojis, more so than who's blocking who, more so than all of this stuff. You should be focusing on the emotional connection. That is going to be the most important thing that you can focus on. Anyway, moving on. Sign number three that your ex doesn't love you anymore is that there is no progress when you lovingly put some pressure on them. So, as we move through all of this, as we start to connect with our ex in a deeper way, you should start to see some progress, okay? Many times there will be emotional obstacles that prevent that progress from happening. We've talked about this in our series on your ex's 5 stages. There's a video card for that up there if you want to check that out. That a lot of people have said that's a really helpful series for them. It gives them great insight into what their ex is thinking and feeling. Maybe you might want to check that out. But as you move through these 5 stages, especially when you get to the crisis point, your ex is probably going to feel a strong level of resistance towards actually making a decision and making the feelings that they have for you real. So what might make sense is to lovingly put a bit of pressure on them. Now, if you truly are at the crisis point, you should have an emotional connection, and you should be able to leverage that to actually get them to make a decision about getting back together with you or not. And because you have this emotional connection, they're likely to choose to actually get back together with you. But they may be resistant towards making this decision because it may put them in an uncomfortable situation, or maybe they need to end a rebound relationship, or maybe they need to tell their friends and family that the two of you are seeing each other again, or something like that. These are uncomfortable things. These are things that are going to probably push your ex out of their comfort zone, and so they may naturally resist this. But when you put some loving pressure on them, they will hopefully make a decision to actually, bring the two of you closer together and to make things happen. If they do not do this, then they are kind of making their decision through their inaction here. Okay, if they're stalling, if they are just choosing to stay put, riding this fence between making a decision one way or the other, then they are effectively making a decision in and of itself. Of course, this could be potentially you misreading the situation and thinking like, okay, I'm at crisis point when really you're not. But assuming you actually are at crisis point, then it's like, okay, maybe they're just revealing their character at this point and they just aren't willing to stick their neck out there and go after the relationship that they want. Or maybe it's more important for them to stay comfortable rather than to go after, some kind of connection that's really important to them or something like that. In which case, okay, we have to take that as feedback and use that to decide, is this really the person that you want to be in a relationship with or not? Number 4. Okay, here's where we start to get into some exceptions to the rule here. So this is going to be maybe a little bit strange here. But number 4. Many times people think that their ex doesn't love them anymore just because they're not contacting you. That's not necessarily true, okay? Your ex may not be contacting you for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes maybe they think that they need to do their own healing, so they're doing the no contact rule themselves. Maybe they are intentionally trying to keep that distance so that they don't send you the wrong message because they're confused and they don't want to, overcommit to something that they're not ready for. Maybe they're not sure how the two of you should fit into each other's lives. They don't know how to have this kind of conversation with you. They don't feel equipped to actually figure out how the two of you are supposed to interact with one another, given your complex history. And so they may do what a lot of people do, which is to pull back, stand still, not do anything in order to, avoid a potentially awkward situation. That doesn't mean that they don't care about you. Obviously, if they don't contact you at all, that it is an explanation. Maybe they don't love you anymore. That is an explanation. But there are other explanations as well, too, if they're not contacting you, that could indicate that they might still care about you a lot. So don't jump to that conclusion. By the way, if you like this video, aside from liking the video, you may want to also sign up for our email newsletter. It's over at modernlove.life/newsletter. We're going to send you a nice report when you sign up that goes through a lot of common beliefs that people have about saving a relationship that, at least in my experience, are not really all that true, such as, the no contact rule and some other things like that. We'll also send you tips, advice, and strategies from time to time that will help you to get the relationship that you want. Anyway, you can find that over at modernlove.life/newsletter or in the link down below. Anyway, moving on, our 5th sign, which is actually a little bit weird, is if your ex is in a relationship with someone else, it doesn't mean that they don't love you as well. Okay, many times people will jump to this conclusion that just because my ex is dating someone else, or they're in a rebound relationship, or they've moved on, people say like, oh, I'm dating someone else, so I have moved on. But like many times they're still emotionally not moved on. So I use the air quotes there. But just because your ex is in a relationship with someone else, it doesn't mean that they don't love you. People can get into relationships for all kinds of crazy reasons. And, we do have a whole video playlist on rebound relationships right up there. You might want to check that one out. Someone recently told me that was really helpful and that they avidly watched every video in that list, in which case, thank you very much. I hope you hit that thumbs up button for all of them. Just because your ex is in a rebound relationship doesn't mean that they don't love you anymore. It just means that they're dealing with their emotions in a very unproductive sort of way. Instead of dealing with them directly, they're choosing to look the other way, hoping that if they, do something external, it's going to make them feel better internally. Maybe they're trying to tell themselves some sort of story about like, oh, if I'm dating someone else, that means I'm over my ex. Or maybe they're trying to tell themselves some story that like, okay, if I fall in love with someone else, then that means that I've moved on. Or, there's all kinds of reasons that people might date someone else and still have a lot of feelings for you. So, just because your ex is in a relationship with someone else doesn't mean that they're over you. Obviously, if your ex is in a relationship with someone else, they could be over you as well, too. We don't want to rule that out because, if they are over you, theoretically, they would at some point date someone else. But just because they are dating someone else doesn't mean they're over you at all. So people many times think that, but it is not a hard and fast rule here. Like I said, many of these things are not hard and fast rules. These are just things that are worth considering. We want to take a holistic approach here and look at what's actually going on, not like, oh my goodness, they did this, that means they absolutely don't love me. But we want to look at what their motivation might be, what their emotional drive might be, what their emotional rationale for doing something might be. If it makes sense that it could still be part of an overall context that they still love you, then yeah, it very well could be that way. On the other hand, if it's telling us a bigger story that like, okay, they're putting this behind us, they're feeling complete with this, and they're moving forward, then that's telling us another story as well too. We don't want to look at this as a sort of black and white thing, but we want to look at what's actually going on at the emotional level. Because like I said before, the most important thing that you can focus on is the emotional connection. And if the emotional connection is not there, then it could indicate that they don't love you anymore. But anyway, I hope that you found this video helpful. Once again, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, go to join the newsletter down below, all that sort of stuff. Please take care, and I will talk to you in the next video.